thank you for joining me today. My friend dropped this chair around the other day and asked me to do whatever I can with it. So it is really open to interpretation, and I will be mulling over it as I take it to pieces to see what kind of plan I can come up with for it. I'm hoping to make it look quite interesting. So let's get on with that. All I had to do with the seat was unscrew it. I'm wondering how they put this in. By the looks of it, staples in here. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to do it this way or not. And I can just pull this out. They're like little tacks, but it has left most of the little staples in. And of course I've got to remove these too. So I will work my way around the top layer. It's just irritating taking all these staples out. That's the time-consuming part. I have just scrubbed this with warm soap and water to get it all cleaned. I'm planning on spray painting it, which I'm going to do now. So the HOA can complain in a week or two that I've got black paint on my grass, and I'll get a rude letter. Note to self, I was so worried that the cats were going to ruin the paintwork that last night, having sprayed this, I covered it with a sheet and it has left little bits of lint on here, which is kind of attached. I'm going to let this dry over another couple of days, and then I'm going to see if I can either get this out or spray over it so it's not quite so obvious. Most of it's come off from everywhere else, it's just along the back here. I kind of folded the fabric over and it was obviously a little bit more pressed against here, which is a bit irritating. I think I might be able to get most of that off. Never mind. One of those things, live and learn. I'm going to undo this seat. So this is going to take me a little minute to get all the way around. There's really not much I can do about this because the gap is about 1/4 of an inch wide here. So it was probably broken when they made it. I'm going to draw around here to here, I think. Marking like that, there, here, where that joins. And also on the front. If I turn that over like that, line those up here and here, and then it should make a complete chair seat. I will ask my friend to cut this out for me, and then I've got a new chair seat to replace this one. I'm going to put the foam and new wadding over the top like that. So that's 20 across, which makes it 10 there. Measure that up. That's 18.5, which would be 9.25. So if I mark that out, the reason I am actually marking it is because I don't have a great deal of fabric. Then if I take my centre mark from there, it's 19.75, which is just under 10 there. That probably be about even. If I line that one and that one up, I only have a small amount of fabric. So what I'm going to do is mark my centres, top, bottom and either side, so I know how much fabric I have spare. I'm going to even it up to all points. I'm a bit worried about front to back. I might be really shy on that, but I think I've got enough to go side to side. Start at the front. The foam is right where I need it to be, and I'm going to just fold over 1/2 inch like that. I'm going to do either side of that. And I'm going to work to the back, spread that out again, and move that back on the foam actually. I think I've got a little bit of space there. I'm going to cut some of this back, the dacron. I really don't like using hardly any fabric. Can't pull it in at the back, so let's do this. I'm going to pull this part in over here. It is going on. By hook or by crook, it's going on. This is the second side. I actually need to take this out. There we go. I'm going to pull that over into there. I'll secure that too. It's just about in place. Sometimes things do work out, and that's also either side of there like that. I have this in place. It goes over all 4 sides, it's a little bit tight. Now something I have noticed is I managed to get this over a little bit further at the back than the 1/2 inch here. I'm going to put the front in first because that's a nice straight edge. I'm going to bring that around, and it looks like I can cut some of this back, so I'm going to trim just a little bit of there so I'm not adding that in. It will go over, but it won't be as bulky. I'm kind of pushing it over and towards me. It might take me several efforts to get it in. There we go. I'm trying to keep it even. I'll stop pulling it in when I get to about 4 inches from the end here, because that's when you start really shaping things. Let's see how that went in. I'm going to cut some of this back here, avoiding the fabric underneath. I don't want to cut into that. Work my way down here and into place. I'll remove these and pull those into place as well. I'm going to cut this back to the top of the foam here. Push the fabric from underneath and over the top. I'm going to put 2 or 3 across here to hold it, because I can pull these in a minute. And do the same on this side too. I've got my points here on the side. I'm going to pull this over and towards here. This seems to come in about 1 inch. I'll try to keep that as even as I can as I get down here. And then I'll do the same on the other side too. I'll take it to the front here and I'll put a pleat here and then pull it back for a little pleat. And now I'm going to pull this in the same way. Just twist it as I go and pull it towards that corner. The fabric should start coming in, so I might have to remove this one and alter that. I'm going to cut some of this out because I don't need all of that there, but not the fabric. I've cut a little bit more out of there, and I'm going to bring that into here and staple it right here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the center in and then gather the fabric around it. This one's going to have to come out too. So I'm going to staple this side in, and then I'm going to see if I can staple this side in too, the same way. I don't want folds on the front, that's the trouble. I'm going to pull this into the center here, and then I'll start pleating that in. I'll take a bit more of this off too. Upholstery is all about taking something out, putting something back in, taking it back out, putting it back in until you get it exactly where you want it, into there. I think I'm going to have to remove this one here because it looks like it's pinching, but that'll be something I'll do towards the end as I manoeuvre all of this into place. I came in a little bit there. I'm going to have to alter these because they're now in the wrong place. The centre mark has moved slightly, that's quite normal. I think I'm going to have to move these two, they're just a little bit out of kilter. If I pull this in like that, I can get this side in and then work towards the back here, make that smooth. I like that. I took out the two that looked like it was pinching the fabric there. The only area here I've got to do is rework the front there, and then as I did at the back, and that should go in really nicely. Now the trick on corners is really taking all the dacron out so that it's not all bulking up underneath the fabric. All I've got to do now is work this in. It looks nice and even like that, but underneath it's quite gathered in. And now I'm just going to put the bottom cloth on. It doesn't have to be perfect, just on there. And nobody will see it. And I'll continue on round. I found this is a really dark maroon and it kind of looks scaly, so I'm going to pop this on here. Just need to make sure I've got it the right way up and straighten that out. I'm going to secure it along the bottom and pull it either way, and then I'll go across this way too. I'm pulling it slightly, not too much because I do want it to go around, and then I'm going to bring it up this way so it's pulled up quite tightly from the bottom, and I'm going to secure here at the top. Having done that, I'm going to put it in here as well along the side, and I'm just pulling it not so that it's tight but so that there's a little bit of give but not too much, and then I'll do the same here too. A little bit of tautness but not too much. Then using 2 pieces of back tacking, find the centre of there across to here and secure those in place too, and then the other way. Just cut this back slightly, and I can put a few infill staples here. I have enough of the fabric to do the back in one piece. I have also this piece which is the lantern, and the dragon is usually chasing after the lantern, so I'm debating whether to put it down the centre or whether to just offset it like that. It's not exactly down the centre. of the back. I think that would actually work. It's not quite half and it's not quite a third. I might have to look at this a few times. That just looks like it's expected to be there. And this is meant to be a fun chair, so I think I'm going to just pop it on the side. Kind of want to break a few rules here. I just want to give interest to the chair. I have here the chenille that's going on and the cotton. Something that I do is to make the thinner fabric as thick as the fabric that it's going with. So this is a thin fabric, and with the lining here that you use in quilting, I use it often with various things. That brings it up to a comparable thickness with here. The other thing I did was I have measured from the bottom of the lantern here to the top here, folded it in half and found my centre mark, which is there. It just gives me a gauge of what I'm actually looking at, which is the whole lamp, not just that part. I just measured down and made a halfway mark there. So theoretically that is where this goes. If I fold over the bottom there and the top, that is my picture. If I move it down, there's a lot of black up here. If I move it up slightly, there's a lot of green down here. And I think I prefer the black at the top. So I'm going to get rid of the green by folding that right over and then folding that down. And I think I want to get rid of the green and have a little bit more of this colour going on to counter this over here. And where's my halfway mark? It's almost there but not quite. I prefer that. So I'm going to sew from the top all the way down to the bottom with all three of those in line. I've slotted everything underneath here. I have all my raw edges together and I'm going to sew this into position. I will adjust it as I go down just in case it does alter. It should keep in a steady line. I was thinking about ironing it open like that, but I'm going to top stitch it. But I'm not top stitching this over there, that'd be too bulky. And I just think that a little row of something going down will just give a little bit of extra support to this seam. I don't want it just falling apart. Pop that under there, make sure that the cotton is on the other side. And again, work from the top down. I'm just opening that up as I go. I've just ironed this top piece to make it a little bit flatter. Fold that over like that. Put a centre mark here. Measure from the seam to that centre mark, which is 1.5 inches. So at 1.5 inches, I'm going to make a centre mark because I don't want it going in at a funky angle. Now, what I need to do is find out the centre here. I'm going to just pop that under there like that. And I'm going to measure from the inside of here down and across to here. Let's make sure it's in the right place because I need it at the top there. And it's just over 10.5 inches. So if I fold that just over 10.5 inches, fold it there, line that up, make sure that's between there, pop that down, and then bring this down to match that centre mark, which is there. I'm going to pull this up a little bit, I think. Just the fabric on top. Actually, that foam seems to be a little bit high. Double check that's where I want it. Double check that's where I want it. Yeah, perfect. I'll pop that in here. So I've got the top here. I'm going to have to do the same. I think I'm going to do it from the outside edge here all the way around to there. The top is 18, but the centre is 9 inches. Push that foam down and into place. Bring that up. I have my 9 inches there. I'm going to bring this up, line it up with the 9-inch mark, allow that calico to come out like that, and secure. Make sure I'm right where I need it to be. Push that out to here so that it goes in straight. Make sure that the foam is pushed back far enough. Staple across. And then I'm going to come up here. Make sure the foam is pushed back and this is pulled up and into place. And again, I'm going to put 2 staples here. I'm just making sure that I'm inside this ridge here because I don't want to cause any problems. And I'm going to come to this side at the bottom, push the foam back, pull the top down and put it into position. I might need to change these ones here just to make sure that they're even, but that's what I'll come back to in a minute. As I come round here, make sure that my foam is well and truly back again, and I'm going to come along here just like I have across the bottom and top and secure it, and I'll work at the top as well. Once you're happy with it, cut back the extra fabric. This takes a little while. The other thing I do is check the back to make sure that all the staples are where they need to be. I think once I put the trim on, that will just fold under and get glued underneath, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. But I'm going to put double piping on, but I've got some narrow piping, which means I am going to cut this at 1.5 inches, and I'm doing it diagonally because it will be a little bit easier to get around the corners on the back of the chair. I've made sure all the piping is facing the same way because I like the sheen of it to be doing the same thing all the way across. Pop that under there like that, shorten the stitch to one of the shortest ones, and then sew across from that corner to this. Flip that over like that, and then add the next one to it. I'm going to use my double piping foot. It makes life a lot easier when you're doing double piping. Although if you're very careful, you can do double piping, but you have to run your normal foot down the center of the two pieces of piping, which means that it's a little bit awkward to keep in line. I've got my two pieces and I'm going to fold them under here. The one underneath has to go at least halfway over. I try to usually wrap it up slightly like that and then put the next one next to it so that there is a natural gap between them. Pop this under here and then I'll fold that one under there, next to it and under. I should have cut my piping cord a little bit wider than I did. Longest stitch and sew. Fold it under, put them together and then fold that one under and pull it tight. And I'm going to do that down this length of piping, keeping it tight all the way. If it unravels slightly, won't matter too much because I'll be using the glue to hold anything in place. Seems to be going in and it is wrapped far enough. I will have to trim that back, but not too much. I split the two sections and I've cut this back to less than 1/4 inch on either side of the seam. Wrap that round just like I have been doing. Push the second piece up tight and pull the back underneath as far as I can and sew. I'm going to make my way to the other end of this length of piping. By cutting back on either side of the seam, you take out a lot of bulk. You don't want too much bulk there. All I need to do is cut back slightly the excess trim. The reason I should have had it a bit wider because it's a little bit loose here. You see a bit of the piping under there, but it's not enough to be a problem. It'll be glued in. I'm going to work my way to the other end of this. I'm going to start off in this corner here. I'm thinking what I might do is just cut in at an angle. I'm going to take out some of this piping, put some glue across the bottom there, and I am just going to pop that in to there. I'll sort that end out in a minute. I'm going to work my way across here and into place. I'm doing it little by little. Pop it in and bring it around the corner, and I'm just going to work up here and around. I'm going to come into this corner here, fill that up to there so it holds steady. Push it in, cut a little bit over and at an angle like that. Cut a little bit of this out of here. I don't want all of that in there. Out of both of them. I don't want any of that in there really. I'm going to take a little bit off the back as well, and then I'm going to fill this up with glue, then push that down with that going around it. So I'm going to pop that in and hopefully that will hold. I mean, it's going to look obvious anyway, but hopefully it won't look too obvious. So basically the two bits have butted up, but I've curled the bits underneath so it doesn't show. I think that'll do. I think it looks quite plain. I mean, it looks really pretty, but I'm thinking I might put arms on there. Maybe if I fold it this way, it'll give me a better idea of what it would look like. There we go. I'll have a look. See what I can come up with to put over the arms. It'll just lift the colour into the chair a little bit more. I cut this 1.5 inches wide, just like I did for the other. The double piping should have been 2 inches or at least 1 3/4, but anyway, never mind. I managed it. Fold that over like that, with this seam at the halfway mark. Pop it under there, and I'm going to carry on folding and sewing. I did think about double piping, but it would have been quite raised, I think, so I'm just going to do it this way. It's about the same width as double piping. I'm going to measure back 3.5 inches from the front here, center that over there like that. I'm going to secure it here, and then I'm going to measure 12 inches from the front to the back and make sure that that is level there. Put this over the top and pull it down and secure it either side. The same at the back, just pull that down and secure it either side. I'm having to determine how big I want these as I go. Pull that down in the center like that so it's even. I'm going to put a couple of staples across the center here and on the other side. Here I have the fabric, and I'm just going to cut a little nick out of this, that end and this, so that I can center this along here with the center of the arm. I'm going to pull this as hard as I can towards the back, and again I'm going to secure it as close to the foam as I possibly can. Pull this down slightly here and put a staple across there, and the same on this side. Just pull it back. I'm going to pull the center of this all the way to this side, just off the edge there, and secure it. I'm going to do the same next to it, and again, so it's in a straight line. And then I'm going to go the other way to the end here, just pulling the cover. I've just folded over about 1/2 inch of fabric because I don't want any loose ends if I can help it. And from the center, I'm going to pull that as far as I can around and underneath and secure. I'm going to do the same here, just like I did all the way to the end. Any one that has gone in funky can be taken out shortly. And then I'll do the same to this end as well. I want it as even as I possibly can make it. Mind your fingers. All I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that back within 1/4 inch of those staples all the way around. I'll do the underside in a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And the same here. I want it as close as I can. I don't want too much fabric on the other side of those staples. Now I'm going to work the bottom side in first because I don't want to mess with it too much. I'm going to pull that in. Then I will work in the top like this. I want it all to look quite smart and clean cut under there. And now I'll do the same on this side so it looks nice and neat under there. I will remove this one and replace it because that looks a bit untidy and I don't want somebody catching their fingers on it. I've just secured the trim on this end, and I'm going to do the same in a minute on here. Take that all the way around to the base of that side of the arm, and then I'm just going to put glue, kind of spread it around all the way to the bottom there like that. Then I'm going to pull it sort of forward to back slightly because I want it hard up there, and all the way around to the bottom, nice and tight and squeezed in. I'm going to cut that and secure it, and then I'm going to do exactly the same way. I want it to go underneath from the outside in and then be secured so that it's hidden. Like this. I think this turned out really well. Better than the plain arms that were already on there, and kind of in keeping with the dragon. Thank you for joining me on this project. I actually was quite excited because this was a project that I could put together on my own. I don't have anybody telling me this is what I want, so it was nice playing with fabric and putting it together. I like the way the dragon's tail looks like it could be wrapped around the arm. I also like the split back. Now I've got to find a new home for it. If you'd like to see more from me, please subscribe, hit the bell button, and a few thumbs up would be brilliant. And in the meantime, take care. See you later. Ciao.